I can do that. Okay. So this is all set up here, and I don't know if you needed a tableau or anything like that.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
All right, so today's topic for today's lunch and learn is digital evidence gathering and computer forensics. Our guest speaker is Dr. Schmidt from St. Cloud State. We've kind of had a partnership growing for the last couple of years now, and trying to build our capacity for offering these sorts of things. So I've been talking to Frank Homer, our law enforcement instructor. We're going to do demonstrations for them probably next semester, and then hopefully maybe another one of these lunch and learns, curriculum sharing, that sort of thing. And who knows? We'll see where it takes us. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm.
All right. Well, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Schmidt from St. Cloud State.
Thank you, Eric. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me today. Thank you to Eric for setting this up, and thank you for your patience as I had some kind of tire issues coming up and had to make an unwanted detour for about 45 minutes in Brainerd. But anyway, I'm here and appreciate your patience. So as Eric mentioned, we're kind of forming a partnership, and I'd like to work with as many students as I can with Eric and get some students interested in a computer security degree. So am I supposed to stand a certain spot?
I'm doing the screen share to the projector.
Okay.
It just takes a second.
So yes, just to let you know a little bit about the background, we have at St. Cloud State, we have what's called Center of Academic Excellence in Information Assurance Education. It's kind of a long way of saying we're certified by the Department of Homeland Security and the NSA. And that means we have some things in place to teach computer security in the proper manner. I guess we could sum it up by saying that. And as part of that, we get to apply for some grants. And most recently, we had a grant for about $316,000. And as part of that grant, we're partnering with you and specifically with Eric. And we did get some forensic equipment. And that forensic equipment, maybe at the end of the talk or later, you can come up and see it. It's this side, it's got a glass case. You can kind of see in there some of the inner workings of the computer. Take a look at that. But that equipment provides the ability to do forensic analysis. So, I'm not exactly sure about the average person's understanding of forensic analysis. I teach in the graduate program. I have a class, it's called IA 681. It's entitled Digital Forensics and Ethics. And when Eric was talking a minute ago, he talked about computer forensics, and then he said digital forensics. I would like to say that when he said digital forensics, he was right about that, because forensics can include this one, okay? Forensics can include computers, obviously, but more and more, anything we do is somehow on our phones, be that a Google search, be that a map, driving to certain locations, things like that. There's often traces of evidence on this kind of device. Same can be said about the computer. There's often traces of evidence on the device. So we'll talk today about a couple specific things about how forensics works and some of the things we might be able to find. So I would also add what Eric said. I would appreciate the opportunity to come back again and speak again on a different topic or more in depth on this one. But I will say with that, I'm here for you today. So if you have questions, I've got a bunch of things we can talk about. But if there's something you want to know more about or ask more questions, please, right at the time, just ask a question. And then, I don't know, Eric, are there a few people online too?
Yeah, we've got about, 20.
Okay, so to the folks online, I'm not sure how we could do this, but if Eric, if there's a
Yep.
way they could type a
They
question.
can talk, they can type questions. they
Okay,
can
yeah,
do
so
anything.
that extends to the people online too. Please ask questions at any time. So I mentioned that most people don't know anything about forensics. I know this because as I said, I teach the graduate class. So these students are graduate students. They've completed their 4-year degree. They're back for a master's program in computer security. And I asked them this at the start of class. You know, I have 24 students in my current class. And I asked them at the start of class, how many people know about digital forensics? Guess how many said they knew about it? We had 2, but close to 0. We had 2 that knew about it. One of them had a computer security undergraduate degree and was taking a class as part of their program. Another had taken an undergraduate elective at St. Cloud State about computer forensics. But the other 22 students, graduate students, you know, backgrounds in computer science, computer programming, information systems, and other majors, they had no idea about forensics. So we do need to, you know, kind of develop a basic understanding about forensics. And probably the number one thing that I want to say about forensics to start is it's not the CSI version, okay? There's a show on TV called CSI, I think it stands for Crime Scene Investigation. And this is kind of how it would go in CSI version. Somebody would run into the office and say, oh, here, I got this disc. Eric, use your fancy equipment, solve this problem.
This thing's broken.
Okay, and then they'll cut to commercial, okay? They'll show Eric over here. Eric will be typing on the computer. They'll cut to commercial. After commercial, Eric will hold this up and he'll say, this is the evidence and this is the killer, right? So I call that the CSI version of forensics. The CSI version of forensics probably isn't the real version of forensics, right? The real version of forensics involves a lot of investigations, okay? So I generally say that there's 3 areas that are needed for forensics. One is understanding of computers, okay? So you got your tech skills, okay? You've got your investigative skills. I might even call that thinking like a criminal kind of thing. And then you've got your legal knowledge. Okay, so we'll talk more about branches of forensics in a minute, but legal is pretty important for some areas of forensics, not necessarily all, but for some areas of forensics, legal is very important. So tech skills, investigative skills, and legal knowledge are kind of 3 real important areas to understand. And we'll kind of look at a little bit of, I guess we'll maybe say the tech skills today, maybe a little bit about investigating, but kind of look at the tech side of forensics. So I think, let me ask, and I think we might all agree, do you think that we are more dependent on this stuff? Now I'm talking this stuff, I'm talking laptops, I'm talking desktops, I'm talking phones, talking all this technology stuff. Do you think we as a society are more dependent on that than ever? Yeah, we are. I would say that. Now, as a result of that, a lot of the things we do in our lives are done in some fashion through digital means, okay? Phone, for instance, computer, for instance, laptop, for instance. Would you be surprised if I told you that there's probably remnants of the things we've done out there that are saved on our systems that we don't know about? Would you be surprised at that? No, you maybe no, right? There's remnants of things out there on our drives. There's remnants of things we've done out there on our phones. There was a case, this was a legal case, you can look it up, it was on some news show. It was titled Murder in the Moonlight. That was the title of the program. And they did like a 1-hour news special about it. But they did a story about a guy named Justin, I gotta remember this name, Justin Barber, not Justin Bieber, okay, that's a pop singer. Justin Barber was a guy who was walking on a beach in Florida, and his wife was shot, and then he was shot, and he called police and said, oh, there was a robbery and we were attacked and they killed my wife and shot me. And, you know, there was kind of some other things happening here, including a large insurance policy on the wife.
Uh-oh.
So this person, Justin Barber, was under some scrutiny for his situation. They couldn't really find much evidence of, you know, tracks or whatever they were looking for an assailant that did the shooting. So for some reason, they got a hold of his computer, and they looked on his computer and they found traces of Google searches on his computer for gunshot, right chest wound. A gunshot, right chest wound. Why would he be interested if he was going to shoot himself? Why would he be interested in shooting himself in the right side? Where's your heart?
Yeah.
Okay, so opposite of your heart. So this guy was out there doing Google searches on gunshot right chest wound. So in other words, he was trying to figure out how to shoot himself, make it look bad, but not kill himself, but yet killed his wife. And then there are some other things. There was an insurance policy that he'd just taken out and some other things. So that computer forensics, that's the reason why that guy's behind bars today and not walking out among us as a millionaire. Okay. I will say that in computer forensic investigations, forensics isn't the only thing. It's often a key thing, but it's not the only thing. So for example, there was 3 parts of understanding forensics. What were they again? Computers and technology.
Investigative skills.
Investigative skills and legal knowledge. Right. So those 3. So here we have someone on the computer that was able to find gunshot right chest wound searches. We bring over some investigative skills. Oh, well, this guy, we suspect him of killing himself. Now, you know, let's interview neighbors, let's interview friends, let's interview, you know, father-in-laws and you know, other people. Let's investigate. Let's call the insurance company. Let's see if there was a policy. Let's do these kind of things. And doing so for a criminal case, they obviously had to make sure they followed specific chain of custody and, you know, warrants and, you know, things like that. So there's one example. That guy's in prison rather than walking around as a millionaire with a dead wife. So forensics finds things that we didn't know were out there. So kind of as a side note here, there's a notion that every single search ever done on Google is saved. Okay, so think about that just a second. If you've been in Google and you've typed out something, have you ever been surprised? Let's say you're going to type out, you know, directions to Leech Lake Tribal College or, you know, whatever. Have you ever been surprised after you type about 3 letters of something? Have you ever been surprised it just pops up for you? Yeah. So that kind of system is made possible because Google keeps track of every single search ever made. So think about that for a second. That's, they don't necessarily know it's you, okay? But if they really wanted to, they could probably trace it back to you or close to you. If you're interested in this kind of thing, you can look up, I don't know, it was at least 20 years ago or so, America Online released some searches, some search histories, and they just included IP addresses. They didn't include names, but they included IP addresses. And based on the searches, people were able to identify the users by name. And they could do so by looking at things like, I don't know exactly, but think about if you do directions. If you do directions to Leech Lake Tribal College and you use the starting address as 123 4th Street, which is your home address, there you go. I mean, there's a investigation, get you back to figuring out who it is. So we are tracked, we are traced in more ways than we know on digital means. I said we'd kind of focus on the tech part of things, and that's kind of the neat thing here about Eric's machine here. This can focus on the tech things. And Eric, have you used it in a class yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So at some point, students in the Computer 1 class.
It'll be Computer Apps 1 and Computer Apps 2, and then I'll have them. Yeah. Both of them will have a module on it.
Yeah. So
because why not?
right. Yeah. This is something that, again, out of 24 graduate students that are majoring in computer security, 2 of them knew about this topic. So I think this is an increasingly important topic, particularly for law enforcement areas. I do a forensics training program, or I did, let's say about 10 years ago or so. I had a couple sessions where I had 25 different cops from the state of Minnesota and FBI. I did that twice. So I had 50 different cops from the cities, from the FBI, from big town Minnesota, from small town northern Minnesota, all over. And I had a chance to talk to all the cops kind of separately at break times and that. And every single one of them mentioned that there's an increasing problem with, and they specifically mentioned things like child porn and things like that.
Oh, sorry. That is not what it's supposed to be doing. There we go.
They're needing that in law enforcement. And just to give you somewhat of an idea about the cost of equipment, the equipment we had, I don't have the portable workstation with me, but I have a portable one that does pretty much the same thing as Eric's machine here. That machine with some software on it was about $15,000. So, I mean, it's not like it's, out of reach, and it's not like it's free, but, you can get some resources. There's software called Autopsy, which is a free forensic software. There's ProDiscover, which is a free forensic software. The one that I use and the one that Eric can use is called Forensics Toolkit, or FTK. I've got a site license for 30 license of that, and then I've got license for Eric's machine and a couple other machines. I think you can check on it if you need to know, but I think a site license is like, if you just want one copy of it, like for law enforcement or something, I think it might be about 5,000 or so, something like that. So I'm going to talk about a couple different tech things, and then we'll just take a quick look at a hard drive. So
I have a document cam there.
okay.
Hang on. Like this one. this one will be spotlighted. How do I do that?
While we're getting that set up, I'm gonna just pass around examples of hard drives. Okay, this is a hard drive. This was taken from a desktop, so, you know, tower type computer. This one was taken from a laptop.
It's not spotlighted.
This was a little bit bigger laptop one. Laptop ones now might be about 3/4 the size of this. These drives now, the ones in my hand, are called spindle drives or traditional hard drives. They have what's called a platter on them. And I'll send these around, take a look at them. Everything we do on the computer is saved on the hard drive. You type your resume, saved on the hard drive.
Okay, I have a document camera right here that'll
Okay.
display on here and for the home audience.
Okay. Hard drive from a desktop computer. This is the inside. These are called platters. Kind of see in there. Maybe see it in here. There's actually 3 platters in here. And everything we save to a computer is saved on this drive in some fashion. Save music to it, save your resume, save an Excel file, whatever we saved is saved on here. If you've ever heard a computer start up, you kind of hear like a little buzzing noise. That's a couple things. Number one, it's likely a fan. The fan is in place to kind of cool the processing unit down and keep things cool. You might also hear this spinning. This drive spins very, very, very rapidly. This thing right here, and it's kind of broken here, but this is called a read-write head. So as the disk spins really, really, really fast, this thing will move around, and that read-write head almost touches the platter. It comes down within 3,000, or let me rephrase that, 10 millionth of an inch. If we were to look at a human hair, so if I were to take a hair out of my head, if I were to look at it the long way, stretch it out and measure how tall it is or how thick that hair is, that is 3,000 millionths of an inch. Whereas the clearance of the read-write head is 10 millionths of an inch. So when I first took this out, Eric laughed and said, "Oh, it's broken." Yeah. If we were to place our thumbprint on this drive, on that platter would be 250 millionths of an inch tall. The clearance of the read-write head is how many? 10 millionths of an inch. So even a fingerprint on an open drive like this, or a piece of dust or lint or something, would basically make this drive inoperable, ruined essentially. So I'll send that around. The thing that I want to add about hard drives, and the main part of my talk today, is about these kind of drives going around. If you've purchased a new computer recently, and now it's almost a standard. In the past, you would have to pay extra for it, but now it's kind of a standard. They're moving to a little bit different kind of drive. Does anybody know what it's called?
Solid state drive.
Solid state drive. Solid state drive has many advantages. Size is one of them. Cost is now coming way down. It used to be a higher cost, but now cost is way down. It's got some other properties that are different than spindle drives. They have something on there that kind of deletes things for real, and I'll talk more about that later. But going back to these spindle drives that are going around, let's just go through a little scenario here. And you guys can help me out and let me know what you think is happening during this scenario. Let's say that I've got a file on my computer. Let's say it's a list of things in Excel. Okay, maybe it's drug dealer information. It's who owes what, who's paid what. So it's bad stuff. So it's on my computer, it's in Excel. I've typed it out and now I'm saving it to my hard drive. And I think, this is bad. I don't want this on my computer. So how would I get rid of that? I've got a file on my computer that is listing out drug deals and money that drug dealers owe. How would I get rid of that? What would you do? You want to delete a file?
Put it in the recycle bin.
Okay, yeah, thank you. We push delete. Okay, so we're coming to that here in a second, but we're gonna put it in the recycle bin, and I think, yeah, I really want to get rid of this. What do I do then?
Overwrite it.
Not yet. Okay, I want to overwrite it, but after I put it in the recycle bin, what do I want to do then to the recycle bin? Empty it. I want to empty the recycle bin. So I kind of use this explanation for emptying the recycle bin. At St. Cloud State, my office is in Centennial Hall 315. Okay, so my office, let's say that my office is right here. Centennial Hall 315 is right over here. Let's say that I go to the directory, the campus directory, where it says Mark Schmidt, Centennial Hall 315, and I erase Centennial Hall 315. And I can even erase Mark Schmidt. Erase that out of the campus directory. If someone were to physically walk by Centennial Hall 315, would Centennial Hall 315 still be there?
It would.
It sure would. When you empty the recycle bin, there's something on the operating system called the file allocation table. What that does is that's like a roadmap or directions. So when that thing is spinning, it says, okay, read write head, go here. Go here to get the information with the Excel file on drug dealers. Go there to get it. When you empty the recycle bin, what that does, it erases the directions to find the file. It doesn't erase the file. So you said you want to overwrite it. There is software out there, and there's several, but one of them happens to be called Eraser, that will actually overwrite it. New hard drives, the solid state drives will have a procedure called garbage collection, and they will kind of do some of that automatically. But that file eraser is kind of an important thing. And what was your solution? Smash it all up.
No.
Okay. You really want to get rid of a hard drive and everything that's on there and the remnants of things on there. There you go. Or like in this case,
Put it back together.
you could hammer this and destroy this too.
Does the DoD have some sort of like protocol for overwriting a hard drive?
They do. They have one called the Gutman procedure that overwrites it 40 times. I believe that's the number. But would you believe that there's buildings, places for important computer systems? Would you believe that there's buildings that are kind of dedicated, or areas at least in buildings designed to destroying computer equipment? The Department of Defense has a computer with missile launch codes on there. When that computer is retired, they're not going to give it to the school. They're not going to donate it to the school. They're going to physically destroy it. Okay. So physical destruction is probably your best bet. So let me ask another question. How many people in here own a laptop or own a computer? Okay, everybody, okay? How many people sitting here today, is it their first computer they've ever owned? Okay, how many people it's their second, third, or fourth computer? Okay, if you've owned one in the past, I want you to stop and just think about it for 1 minute. Where is that computer right now? Okay, well, you know about this already, so you smashed yours all up. But I think about the first computer I had before I knew about forensics. I gave it to my brother, and then I'm pretty sure he gave it to his daughter, and I'm pretty sure then it, you know, was at a garage sale for $2 or something. I don't know. All that stuff, or a lot of that stuff, is out there yet with some skills, with some tools that Eric has, and you know, these kind of things. You can get a lot of that stuff back. Now, FK, Forensics Toolkit software, like is on this computer here, that's kind of like a special tool that can, remember I said you go to the directory and erase your name? If I go to the directory and erase my name, this is a special tool to kind of say, hey, what was erased, and let's kind of see if we can find that. Okay. Going back to the Department of Defense and missile launch code things, there is actually another procedure, and Eric asked about the DoD Defense, our Department of Defense standard, and I said the Gutman procedure. What that'll do is that'll randomly put, and it's got a series of this, it'll do, write all ones to the disk. Whole thing. Done with that, write all zeros to the disk. Done with that. And there's a pattern to it, I'm not sure what it is, but now write 1 0, 1 0, 1 0. Do it all. Write 0 1, 0 1. There's procedures they go through where they put random bits on here. The reason why, and here again, I mean, we're talking important missile launch code kind of stuff. You can look at an electron microscope, look at the platter, and in some cases you're able to tell bit placement on here. We're not going to do this if you lost your resume, okay? I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars, because if you know how things are stored on computers, I said they're all stored on the drive, but they're also all stored in binary. Binary is a series of ones and zeros. 8 ones and zeros makes up something called a bit. 8 ones and zeros would represent a character or part of a picture, or the color of part of a picture or something. So 8 ones and zeros have to be taken together just to get a letter, for instance. So you'd have to find 8 ones and zeros and piece that together just to even get one character. And my point is, it would be tens of thousands of dollars to do that kind of thing, but it is possible to do. So that's why physical destruction is important for super, super, super sensitive things. So I told you I teach the class in graduate computer forensics at St. Cloud State. And I don't do this anymore, but you know, 10, 15 years ago, I did a project where students were to get a hard drive, and they were to get a hard drive, and their assignment was, their project was, tell me everything you can about the person who had this drive. Now, I did add to the assignment, don't get it from your mom, don't get it from your dad, don't get it from your friend, don't get it from your church, don't get it from anyone you know. Why did I add that part?
Yeah, you don't necessarily want to know everything about
You don't want to see Uncle Jim dressed up as Little Bo Peep or something, right? You don't want to see that kind of stuff. So after a few years of doing that project, there's a used computer store in St. Cloud called Computer Renaissance. After a few years of doing that, because the students would often go there to get the hard drives, the people at Computer Renaissance would say, oh, is that for that project at St. Cloud State? And people at computer stores know about wiping drives and formatting drives and erasing drives. But that being said, and this is 10, 15 years ago, mind you, but even at that point, do you think people still found stuff on the drives they got from used computer stores? Yeah, they did. I got a presentation that I had some of my students give that told me what they found. And I mean, I made them kind of sign a form saying, hey, if you find some legit banking passwords and stuff, you won't use it. And I realized the irony of that. If people sign a sheet saying they won't, if they're a bad guy, they're going to do that anyway. But whatever. I had them sign a sheet saying they wouldn't use it for bad kind of things. But I said we talked about some tech things. So I talked about the erasing the directory. That's kind of one tech thing. Another tech thing that's really kind of neat that it's kind of beyond that deleting a file. It happens all the time and we don't even know about it. And it's probably happening less with solid state and with new procedures. But with older computer systems for sure, and possibly even some new ones, there's something called slack space. Okay, and I'll explain slack space a little bit. I'll explain it twice. I'll explain it once in a way you're going to understand, and another way you might understand at a later point. Okay, first way. Who knows about VCRs? Who has a VCR or had a VCR? Okay, so you know about VCRs. You know about the tapes that come in a VCR. You know what they look like? Yeah, about like that. If you were to crack that case open and look inside a VCR tape, what would be in there? What is it? Tape, right? I mean, it looks like tape, looks like film or tape. You could stretch it out from here to the parking lot, right? And it'd be a big long tape. Okay, so now let's say that you have a VCR and you get a brand new tape, VCR, you put the tape in and you record something. What's a show you like, or a movie? What's a good movie you can think of? Caddyshack. All right, thank you. Everybody's got to have a copy of Caddyshack. In fact, I've got one with me today. I really do. I really do. I'm going fishing after this, and I brought Caddyshack with. I really did. So I have my tape of Caddyshack. I recorded Caddyshack. About how long is Caddyshack?
5 minutes? A long time. You're an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Okay. So I've got an hour and a half of Caddyshack. And now I think someone gave me the legit tape of Caddyshack. So I've got one that I taped off the movie channel. Okay. So it's just a VCR tape. Now I think somebody gave me the copy, or I've got it on DVD now, so I don't need the VCR tape. I'm going to record something over Caddyshack. So I rewind the tape to 0. I put it in the VCR, and I'm going to record The Simpsons. Simpsons is a half an hour, right? So come back, take my VCR tape. If I were to crack open that case and pull the tape out and tape one end here and string that other end out to the parking lot, and if I were to look at it with special little glasses that I could look down, if I were to look at that tape at 5 minutes in, and I'm looking at it with special little glasses that would allow me to see the frames on there, what would I see?
Simpsons.
Okay, I'd see Homer strangling Bart or something. I'd see The Simpsons. If I were to come out to 25 minutes, special little glasses, what would I see?
Closing credits.
Closing credits. if I were to go out now to 35 minutes, special little glasses, what am I gonna see?
Bill Murray.
Okay, Bill Murray. So that's kind of how slack space works in a way that you'll probably understand pretty easily, right? I've taped something on a VCR. It's an hour and a half. Now I put that tape in again, and I just record something that's a half an hour. You've got a half hour of the new stuff, and you've got an hour of the old stuff. That's kind of how slack space works. More technically, things on, remember we said they're always saved in binary, so ones and zeros. They're always saved in a location on the disk. Those things are broken up into what's called sectors and clusters. I don't know how many, Eric, you teach tech, do you teach tech? Who else is it?
That's just me.
Okay. I have students, a lot of times I have them look at their file system, like in Windows Explorer or my computer thing.
Yeah.
And I look at the size of files, and I look at their size versus size on disk.
Sure.
So that's something we can talk more about that, but these storage allocation units are kind of like, I mean, I don't want to say they're like VCR tapes, but that's a good analogy. They're storage units, and they can only store certain, like one thing on them. They're used in whole number increments. Let's say it that way. So you never use 1.5 clusters. You use 2 clusters, because that spot they've saved at the end is in case you ever add on to this file. Okay, so this is kind of how storage or how slack space works on the computer. Let's say that I've got that drug dealer list that I'm talking about, and I put it in the recycle bin. I empty the recycle bin, and I try and write over it. I mean, you're gonna, I don't know if you can specify where you're gonna save it. You would more randomly happen to write over it. Okay, so you've randomly, for whatever reason, you've randomly were able to overwrite that. And let's say it was just a short little note message to mom. It was a letter to mom. So the number of bits was like this for the drug dealer list. The number of bits for the letter to mom was like this. So roughly speaking, if you were able to use special equipment like this, and FTK and others, you're able to use special equipment, special little glasses, so to speak. If you're able to use those things, if you were looking at the right spot, the first part you'd see letter to mom. But then if you were able to see with the right tools, the spots after, what would you see?
Drug dealer list.
Drug dealer list. Maybe not necessarily the whole drug dealer list. Maybe it's kind of fragmented. Maybe there's problems with it, but you'd probably be able to see some of it. So slack space, there's people in jail because of slack space. Okay, I said that there's tracking and tracing and remnants of things we do on our computers. Slack space is one of the main ones. Now, with solid state drives, that's probably changing because of the principles of wear leveling and garbage collection, which will, let me say it this way, solid state drives will dramatically change the course of forensics. We did an experiment with regular forensics versus solid state forensics, and we put certain things on a regular drive and put that same information on solid state drive. We still found stuff on solid state drive, but it was probably at a rate of about 1/10. Still found stuff, but at a 1/10 of what we found on regular drives. So, Eric, I'm not sure, it is 1:14. I didn't know if people had other things, or I should have asked during the talk if there's questions or any questions from the
Do you want to open it up for Q&A right now? We can do that.
Yeah, I mean, is there some,
I don't have a plan.
okay. Scary thoughts, yeah. And to the person that says scary thoughts, one thing I want everybody to think about is when you get that new computer, what are you going to do with your old computer? And the question becomes, let's say you can get $15 for your old computer. Would you give away all your secrets or potentially give away all your secrets for $15? You have to answer that question on your own, but I'm guessing most people would say no.
So what do you do?
Take out the hard drive and hit it with the hammer. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
And in fact, Best Buy in St. Cloud,
Phones too, I bet.
well, and now that's
Take
a,
that little card out?
that is a really good, really good question. More and more, you're not technically, well, I guess you are buying it, but what happens every couple of years? This is an iPhone 7, by the way, so it's older. But in fact, I just got a text message a couple days ago that I can bring this in to Verizon and get $400 for it.
Wow.
Well, if $400 towards a new 13, but the last time I did this, which is, we're talking iPhone 7, so it's years ago. I specifically asked them, I'm like, hey, what do you do with these things? Well, we recondition them. Well, how do you recondition them? What do you do? Well, we erase everything on there. Well, I hope you really do. And I took them at their word for it.
Yeah.
But prior to this, I've always kept all my, this one I have to turn in. Or, I mean, I don't have to, I think everything's.
Don't you just take that one little thing out?
Well, it depends. I mean, SIM card,
Yeah.
most of it's onboard storage.
Oh.
So,
We do have a couple of questions in chat.
Yeah.
Brian says, I'm interested in studying law. Is there an emphasis in law where I can learn more about this subject?
yeah, would you have the criminal justice aspect?
I don't know.
Classes in that?
I mean, if you're studying law, then you're studying maybe to be a lawyer.
Yeah. I would imagine that it's covered in law enforcement or legal type classes, legal system and law enforcement. I work a little bit with criminal justice at St. Cloud State. They're a very big department at St. Cloud State, criminal justice. And I've taught, I guess, call it an elective in forensics for them in the past. They're looking to add it as part of their program, but as of now, St. Cloud State criminal justice does not have forensics in it. Yeah, I mean, it's needed.
Well,
Every cop shop that I've talked to said that they need it, and they can always farm it out to the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension and or the FBI, but they've got such a backlog that good luck.
well, yeah, I mean, and to add to that, I will be offering something here on this campus. And I know Brian's taken off a few of my classes already, so they'll try to offer it. They'll try to include it next semester as well.
Well, and let me add to the person that asked the question about learning more about this, and to everyone, students or faculty that work with students here. We have a program that allowed us to purchase the equipment that Eric has up here, and we just put in a new forensics lab at St. Cloud State. That program is through the Department of Defense and administered by the National Security Agency. That provides for scholarships for students. That what we would consider, and what I've talked to Eric about this a little bit, if we have a student, or Eric has a student that's really good in computers that wants to transfer to St. Cloud State and work with me, we'll design a program for you that looks at computer security. You can get a 4-year degree in that area, or you can get a master's degree in that area. The scholarship currently provides, if you're an undergraduate or a graduate, it provides you full tuition. Okay, so all your tuition is paid for. It will buy you a computer. It will allow you to go to the security conference or other conference. Every March, I take students to Las Vegas to the computer security conference, learn about, topics there on security. It covers, all your tuition and fees at St. Cloud State. And then at the graduate level, it pays you $34,000 a year stipend to go to school. And then at the undergraduate, I'm thinking I mainly work with graduate students on the scholarship, but I think it pays $26,000 or so. And that's on top of free tuition. Then when you're done, you have a guaranteed job / commitment to work for some type of government agency for a period to equal your scholarship. So if you're in the scholarship program 2 years, you get 2 years of guaranteed job. You get an internship in your summer between your first and second year. It's an unbelievable program. And I'm working with Eric on that to get more information to students.
Right. Yeah, and so Brian, just let's circle back and talk about that the next couple of weeks or early next semester, and I'll get you some more information about that if you're interested in it.
And very important part with this, the scholarship applications are due generally like late January or early February. And what happens is they come in, there's a website you apply on, and then the applications come to me, and we have a panel or a committee that reviews them. We make recommendations to the NSA and Department of Defense on, student recommendations, if they're recommended or not, basically. Then they make decisions on who gets the scholarship. This process, as you can imagine, takes a while. So, I'm going to use February 1st as the example deadline. Applications are due February 1st to the website. Then I have to write a bunch of stuff, put a bunch of stuff together, and I have to send that in by February 28th. Fast forward to, I don't know, maybe May or so. They get back and make offers to students and let me know who's getting offers. Students have a few weeks to consider the offer. And then in fall, they start under scholarship. So this isn't something you just randomly apply for.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll work.
I'll conference with the students, and then we'll figure out a plan for that.
Yeah.
So,
It's an awesome opportunity.
there is a kind of a cool question here from Melinda. So there's a side of protecting ourselves from identity theft and the side of law enforcement needing tools to combat crime. So where's this line between education and law enforcement?
Yeah, good point. I mean, yeah, one case that immediately comes to mind when you mentioned that, who is that from?
That's from Melinda.
Melinda, when you asked that question, immediately what came to mind to me was a few years ago. And I want to say that there was a case out in California where the law enforcement wanted Apple to unlock an iPhone. You remember that? Anybody?
Yep, it was international news, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you complicated. I'm gonna go a third thing in there, Melinda. I'm gonna add the company. In this case, Apple. What does the company want to do? Well, the company wants to say, we're the best phones out there. No one can break our security. Nobody, right? So, let's say it's a matter of, and this is a great question. If there are some instructions on where a bomb is going to blow up at a large venue, and they know it's on someone's phone, and they know it's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, it could save hundreds or thousands of lives to crack into the phone and get it. But Apple, they're a company, and they're saying, hey, we got the best phones out there. everybody should always buy our products, you can't break it. So they've got incentive to make it unbreakable. So the bottom line is, and I'm kind of hope I'm remembering this right, Apple said they wouldn't/couldn't break it, but then I think they hired a firm out of Israel, maybe, a private firm that did break it, and they did get into it. So yeah, I mean, there's a balance between law enforcement protecting people. There's a line between education. You know, I mean, I'm assuming that everyone in classes is learning things for good purposes, right?
Yep. I took a security class where we learned about hacking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there was an assumption that we would use our powers for good.
Right. You know, like I said, when I used to do the project on the hard drive, I had people sign a form saying they would basically use it for good. So, I guess one other just quick thing I did want to mention, that the process, we kind of made it look like a magical procedure here, but the process of getting stuff on here, Eric has a special device up here that's built into the computer called a Tableau. He also has a portable Tableau right here. And I also have some Tableaus here that the Tableau, if you look at it, it also says forensics bridge on there. So this is a device, it's got needs power, and it's got several different cables that you have to find the right cable to connect. But what this will allow you to do, it allows you to take data from the hard drive, and it creates what's called a bit stream or bit by bit image, called an image of this disk, and puts it on there so you can do forensic analysis on it. That's very important if you're going to do, we talked about legal aspects. We said that technical skills, investigative skills, and legal aspects were important. If you're going to do this for a court case, the other side is going to probably want the opportunity to look at the evidence, and you're going to probably take something called a hash value to prove that you didn't change the contents of the drive when you were doing your analysis. Yeah.
Any other questions? We're edging over towards 1:30. Mel says, glad you made it.
Yeah, thanks for your patience on that. I was scheduled to be here about 11:30 till I had to take a 45-minute detour to the Discount Tire in Brainerd, but yeah.
No,
Great, yeah, and Eric, again, thank you for setting this up, and I would, now that we're getting more towards back to face-to-face activities, and I wanted to come more in the fall too, but just with travel restrictions and all that. But now, once we get going again, hopefully we can set this up again.
Yeah. Well, we can probably talk after this. Is there anything else that anybody would like to ask? Laura, thank you for taking the time. I think we can wrap up the actual lunch and learn.
Thank you.
And then thank you everyone who came along, and thank you to Dr. Schmidt. And I'm not on the camera, so you can't see me. I've been controlling the camera in the background and switching cameras and things like that. I'll just stand out here. I can move myself a lot easier than I can.
Yeah.
So thanks everybody for joining us via Zoom and Facebook. And we've got more of these scheduled for next semester, probably. I don't think we have more this semester. And so we'll see you then. Thanks. Okay.